Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Yes, it is Arj here from Performance Physique for our weekly live Q&A. Trying out this new microphone, so who can hear me? If you can hear me, if you can see me, let me know in the comments. We had 5 feeds going last week, so it was a little bit chaotic for me. So fingers crossed, we only have 2 feeds today, one on YouTube and one here on just the event page. Actually, we've got Instagram over here as well. Hello everyone on Instagram. If you can write in the comments, if you can hear me, write the location you're watching from as well. Let's see what's going on. There's a couple of people logging in. That's cool. I feel like my glasses are really dirty. So if you guys can let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. Who is watching? Lee, awesome, loud and clear. Thank you very much for the thumbs up, guys. There's 5 of you in here on the at the moment, and we've been getting about 10 or so live each week, so I would love to get to that level. If you can click share, either share now or share with post on this feed, that would be amazing. Facebook loves to see it when you write why you should actually watch something. Andy says, morning Arj, loud and clear. Thank you very much, Andy. Good morning, Zana and Andy. So we've got 3 questions popped in advance, I believe. Yeah, 3 in advance. If you have any questions during this live, please do let me know. Just write it in the comments and I'll answer your question live. Same for you guys over here on Instagram. If you have any questions during this live Q&A, we'll be about 25 minutes or so, then please pop it in the comments and I'll answer yours as well. I was pretty impressed actually. The last 2 weeks worth of live Q&As, we've had around, I think it's just shy of 300 views, which is cool. That's very much happy to me. Still nothing like that. Very first week of lockdown, 2,900 views of that live. But whatever we can do to help out you guys, we shall do. So I'm going to go straight into this first question. This should pop up on your screen in a second. And this is probably appropriate for some of you. Hopefully this appears on your screen any second now. And the question is, when to run and when not to. When should I be running, and on those days when I don't feel like running or training or exercise, when is it just me being weak basically and saying, oh, I just don't feel like doing it today, or when is it actually, no, I really truly am tired, I should stop, I don't need this. Fingers crossed that pops up on the top or bottom somewhere on your screen. I would love to know if any of you watching have had this, so whether you're watching on the replay later on or if you're watching live, I would love you to write in the comments if you have ever felt like, yeah, I'm not here right now, I shouldn't be training today, I'm tired. If you've had any of those doubts, any of those questions, please ask them or pop yes in the comments right now. Good morning, Piers. Hello, Piers. How are you? I hope Bucky's watching with you. So in answer to this person's question, when to run and when not to run, when should we be taking a rest, when should we really be backing off, we have to ask ourselves this particular question in a set of circumstances, put context to it. How long has your training block been? How many weeks has it been? We usually look for kind of an undulation in our training. So around 8 weeks, we look to lighten the load. We look to maybe take even a rest week at 8 weeks into things. So are you approaching that 8 weeks? If you're approaching those 8 weeks, can you actually just get through that session, pop it into week 8, and then take your rest at that point? Or are you actually just trying to get out of your run? You're in week 1 or 2, you just don't fancy training. In a couple of hours time, you'll be thinking, I really let myself down. I could have gone and done that training session. There's not many quantitative methods and not very measurable methods in which we can actually determine whether you should be running, training or not. Resting heart rate's one, but realistically, you need to take this heart rate first thing in the morning. You need to be doing this literally before you get out of bed, monitoring your resting heart rate. Is it 8 beats? Yeah, it's about 8 beats higher than average. And at that point, you're saying, right, okay, you should probably be taking a lighter training day. Other than that, grip strength is a fantastic one. So basically, have you ever had that sensation when you grip those hands as hard as possible and you just can't apply force? Grip is a determinant of central nervous fatigue. So if you're really struggling to apply force, I think the last time I had this sensation was actually after a night out. And I couldn't really grip very hard. I couldn't apply it, so I was just really tired. This is something that you can use. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that you have to stop exercise. It just means perhaps you should alter your training session. Maybe you should be doing an easy run, doing something lower volume. Maybe you should do some abdominal exercise. But the kind of signals for when you should or shouldn't train are largely the discussion that you will have in your head. Are you honestly, you have to ask yourself, are you honestly just trying to stop training because you don't want to? You can't be bothered. That's fine if you can't be bothered, but is it becoming a reoccurring effect? If it's becoming a reoccurring effect, then we need to kind of identify, outline why you don't want to train anymore. Have you stopped doing things which are fun for you? This is actually something I discussed on that radio interview, and it got published in a magazine actually on Friday, the Deluxe magazines for Birmingham and Solihull apparently. So hello if you're watching from Deluxe, that's cool. The Deluxe magazine basically article was talking about choosing exercises, things that you find fun and enjoyable, particularly during lockdown, where there's no races to enter, there's no competition, there's no running against your mate or training in the gym against your mate, and making it very difficult to kind of motivate yourself. So you choose exercises which are more fun. Things like jumping I always recommend because people quite like jumping because we don't do it after childhood. And therefore this perhaps gives you a new stimulus of why you don't want to bow out of training. For example, yesterday evening I was doing some exercise, some training, and it came to I had technically 2 sets left, and I was like, no, actually, I want to watch the rugby. Realistically, doing 1 extra set of exercise isn't going to help. I ended up just supersetting everything back and forth. So it probably wasn't the most effective training session, but I did some exercise. I made sure that it counted, and I went and watched the rugby, basically. So I had a happy time. Hopefully that helps. If you find that interesting, if you've been there before, you've had this experience of, I don't know when I should be training because I want to give in, then please, please, please click like, love, heart, wow. It means the world to me when I see that people are benefiting from these talks. Good morning, Emma. Top fan, it says for you, Emma. I agree. Morning, Jamie, if you were about, or are you at HQ still? I hope everything went okay there. All right, if any of you have any live questions, same for you guys over here on Instagram. If you have any live questions, please pop it in the comments. Nutrition, health, fitness, share this with your friends. I will answer your questions first. Last week was so much fun. Let's move to the next question. And I found this one really interesting. I like this question a lot. Hopefully it should pop up here. Where does it pop up for you guys? On my screen it pops up here. But does it pop up down here for you? Down at the bottom? The question should read, when I turn out of my house, I can run either uphill or downhill. Which one should I start with? Fingers crossed that pops up for you now. Yeah, I have 2 ways to leave the house, uphill or downhill. How should I start? If you've had this circumstance, write me in the comments because this is something very interesting. This is basically something I actually discussed with Kate as well, because we have a very steep hill that we basically decided to stop running from and just walk up that hill, then begin our run from. On Friday's run, on the route, very, very early on in the session, we were doing a quality session, so that basically means it's hard work. And there's a lot of hills right near the start of the run. It wasn't exactly as we left our house, like this question says, but a lot of hills right near the start of the session, which timed perfectly with these efforts. Now, these efforts are about increasing cadence, increasing turnover, increasing rate of power output, not total power output. When you go up a hill, we're basically going for complete power output, but we're not necessarily increasing our cadence. And for the program, the training session that we were doing, we were basically having to do the opposite of this, which wasn't ideal. And, we're saying we're disappointed with our first 2 repetitions, but actually we shouldn't be disappointed with those first 2 repetitions because it was the environment that we were having to do the workout in as opposed to our performance. And that's why we had a negative split. The second half was faster because the terrain basically suited the efforts more so. Right, back to this question. I have 2 ways to leave the house, uphill or downhill. How should I start? First things first, is there any opportunity to kind of walk up the hill and then start, or is it a really, really long hill and therefore you have no option, you just need to start running? Second of all, any injuries, any ankle stiffness, any calf tightness? If you have any of those things, choose downhill straight off because you basically will just be straining your calf, your Achilles, your ankles, won't like the mobility without warming up, without having the circulating blood. Basically, you won't benefit from going straight uphill, particularly if it's steep. Go downhill, get ready for it. And obviously, I don't know if you're doing a circular route where you will then have to come downhill, or maybe you can just where you'll have to finish coming uphill, or whether you can just come back the way you started and back down that downhill. Because no one likes to finish uphill, do they? Stratford half 10. That's not a race. The Stratford 10K, I think, finishes and starts with an immense uphill section. That's not pleasant. That's why I always remember it. If you don't have any of those things, and if the uphill section is quite moderate, it's not very steep, then that might not be an issue to just go out and start uphill, as long as it's not too steep. If it prevents you from basically building any rhythm, any cadence, it's not ideal because it's in your warm-up phase. And to bring this back to that boring thing, slow down your first 2 kilometers. Do your first 2 kilometers slowly and it'll actually improve your performance later on in the run. Always look, actually Lee, who's watching live, work with Lee one-on-one, and we speak about the ideal circumstance being a progressive run. Basically, you get faster with every K or every couple of K. Progressive running is the way to do it in an ideal circumstance, if that suits the athlete, if that suits the runner. By going slower at the start, you allow a full warm-up, and it will be amazing how much of a difference this makes to your running if you haven't done this before. Right, hit like, love, haha, wow, haha, if that was useful. Emma says, Jamie's at work, I'm just back from a run after doing a drill set before the strength program. Yes, very good, Emma. Emma is on our strength training program, 8 weeks. I hope it's useful, Emma. I have done one of the ab workouts. That's it, just one of them. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, please do fire away. We have a 60-minute run to do today as part of our running program. So we'll be doing that this afternoon, because I'm going to actually do a little bit of, the massage guns. I'm going to do a little bit of massage gun treatment on my calf Achilles. My bad side does flare up. It doesn't enjoy anything really over 30 kilometers per week. It doesn't enjoy uphill. And therefore I basically need to treat it every now and again, and the massage guns are amazing for that. The massage guns are really, really useful because your thumbs get tired, you just can't be bothered to apply the pressure, and basically the massage gun takes away all of that. I'm probably sounding very lazy, but having to treat something all the time, it's very demanding, and the gun just repeatedly hits the zone. Very, very effective. There's 8 of you online right now. This is fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me. I am hoping... Anne, good morning, Anne. How are you? Your message just popped up, Anne, at the top. Yeah, at the top of the hill. I'm guessing that's what it's about. Fantastic. Ali Clayton, hello, good morning. Awesome. So we've got a few questions popping in. Please, please, please do ask those questions right now, guys. I'm going to do this question, and then Ali will come to your question, and then it's live questions only. Nutrition, health, fitness, the whole thing, happiness. This question was about running technique, and it was a really kind of not particularly long, but it was a question about different running techniques. So I've just made these bullet points, but basically speaking Barcelonian, Catalonian even. So basically, this is about different running strides that people are seeing whilst they're out and about. Yesterday morning we were out and we saw loads of different runners, and there were loads of different running styles being performed, whether they were conscious or unconscious. The runners were conscious. I mean, the decisions of the type of running style were conscious or unconscious, but there was a very distinct pattern, particularly about those who were running at a slower pace. Running at a slower pace basically makes it harder to get your biomechanics, so your running technique, your running style, correct. That's why we do all of our technique work stuff over shorter distances at faster paces. It basically means it's easier for you to do it. And this individual said they saw people who were running and it looked like they moved very, very stiff from the hips, with their heels always planting into the floor, and their legs were always bent. It was like at every single movement, their leg was bent. Was this the correct method? Was this how they should be running? Because they don't feel like they run like this. I would be interested if anyone can associate with this technique. I completely understand what they mean about this movement. I would be interested to see if any of you kind of can associate with that, whether you've witnessed it or whether you feel like you run like that in yourself. Now, if we work from foot to hip, that probably makes it a little bit easier. So first things first, we don't want to be planting our heel into the ground. That's the thing we want to get away from as much as possible. Injury prevalence goes up. There was an interesting recent study which has been produced saying maybe we just shouldn't bother trying to change people's running techniques. I think that's immensely lazy. There are obviously times when you shouldn't adapt or shouldn't try to force the change, but if possible, we want to land midfoot, not toe plant, midfoot here rather than heel landing. Heel landing basically is a braking force, so every step you take, you're slowing yourself down and you're also increasing your chance of injury. The injury will travel straight up, so this is my heel plant here, travel straight up through my knee into my hips. So that's something we want to avoid. Also, if we're moving and we have a bent knee the whole time, we're not really utilizing everything we have at our disposal. We're not utilizing our calves, so we're not pushing off the floor with our toes. That means we're not using those calves. Obviously means we're not using our feet muscles as much as possible. We're not utilizing our hamstrings because they're there to explode, to push away, and if they're bent basically the whole time, our legs bent the whole time, they're not firing. And we're not utilizing our quad either to their full potential because they're not extending, so we're not pushing off and extending that quad all of the time. So we're missing out on an awful lot of contractions, muscular contractions. Now this sounds like it's me trying to be very pernickety about actual effective running technique, but what you've got basically is, imagine all of those muscular systems and they're basically in this position the whole time, tightly wound and never getting their ability to expose themselves completely to... We watched the other guys last night and he says, I'm a peacock, you've got to let me fly. All of those muscles want the opportunity to fly, and therefore, if you never extend any single one of those muscles, you are not going to reach your full potential. You're not going to be anywhere near your full potential, actually. What I noticed yesterday is a couple of people who had this running technique also had very low hips. So if I drop this down a little bit here. So at this point here, they're always sat in this position. And this makes it very, very difficult in order to generate power, to generate force, because we have to be tall and strong in the midsection here in order to be able to push power out through our legs, be able to get that extension through our glutes. All of the different elements of our run are basically limited by the fact that we do not have this tall posture. We do not have extension going through our legs. So basically, you don't want to be running like this example that you've suggested, that you've seen lots of people doing, and whether it's the correct thing to be doing. It's not the correct thing to be doing. You are limiting your ability to push the ground behind you. You are limiting your ability to make sure you sit nice and tall, and you are no doubt going to be doing yourself a disservice. I hope that was clear. In terms of the best running position to be in, it does depend on the event. It does depend on the kind of background to running that you have. But basically, be tall. Make sure you're pushing the ground behind you with every single stride. Make sure that your foot isn't landing on its heel. Make sure it's midfoot and front foot. And that will put you in the best optimal position to succeed in your running. If that was interesting, please click like, love, haha, wow. Share this post with your friends. Tag them in the comments. I have 8, 9 of you watching right now. That's cool. That is fantastic. Ali, we're going to come to your question. Let me take this question down here. Right. Oh, we can do a poll. Let's see if this poll comes up for you guys. Let's see if this works. Let me know in the comments if this works for you guys. I like trying out all of these things here. There we go. Maybe that'll pop up on your screens in a second. Right. So, Ali's question is, what is your favourite thigh stretch after a run? I'd use the word favourite very lightly. I don't think anyone likes stretching, do they? Sweet Beat 88, hello. Thank you for joining us. King of England, thank you very much for joining us. Favourite thigh stretch? Yeah, if I'm feeling really lazy, I will kneel down and I will basically sit on my heels, stretching my quads that way. It's not the most effective. It means I sink like this with our hips, which isn't great. I would just basically go for your really standard one, which is standing. Grab your ankle, pull your heel up to your bum. And then once you're in this position, bring your knees together. Your knee wants to splay out to the side. That's a typical one. And the last thing is make sure you push your hips forwards, because we always miss out one head of the quadricep muscle, basically, which is your thigh, when we do this stretch, because we're here and we need to stick our hips through, and that'll stretch the top head of your quadricep muscle. Right. Oh, Ali, are you saying you do have a favourite stretch? That's cool. Other than that, actually, there is a cool one, which is the sofa stretch. So basically, get in a lunge position with your foot on the sofa seat and try and sit tall in that position. That's really, really difficult. So lunge position with your front leg, back knee goes into the floor, top of your foot onto the sofa chair, try and sit tall, and that stretches. That's an effective stretch, not just for your thigh, but also for your hip flexor. King of England says over here on Instagram, out of interest, is there a fire around you? Is a fire around you? I'm not sure what you mean by the question. If there is a fire around you, is there a technique to run through it? Hopefully restricting burns. I'm not an expert in stunt running, so I wouldn't be able to assist in that question. Interesting question there. Next question is from Emma. Calf stretches after runs, workouts would be great. Yeah, calves get immensely tight very, very, very quickly, best stretch whatsoever you can possibly do, unless you have an underlying Achilles or heel injury, is to basically step onto a step, do both feet first, and drop your heels low. Make sure you're holding onto something so you're safe, you're not on an extremely high height, and just drop those heels below 90 degrees, so below the level of the step in which your toes are on. So you'll be about the first third of your foot is on that step. And just stand there nice and tall, allowing those heels to sink gradually over 30 seconds. Repeat that 3 times through. That is the fundamental calf stretch realistically to go to. Then going single leg, and then soleus stretching. So basically repeat that same position, but with your knees bent. So your knees bending over your toes, and that basically gets the stretch slightly deeper into your calf. Other than that, we can incorporate our calf kind of stretch into a lot of hamstring movements. So pulling the toes towards you as you do any stretch particular. Make sure that your feet are relaxed when you try to do any of your stretches as well. So roll your feet with a ball prior to doing any calf stretching, and that will allow you to get a little bit more out of your calves, certainly. I do a lot of soleus stretching basically, because this is the muscle which is deep down underneath the calf, which actually gets a lot of the strain through each step and each stride of your run. So definitely look at bending those knees as you do some of those heel drops as a go-to. Right guys, I hope those answers have been useful. We've been going for, is it 28 minutes? Awesome, that's cool. We'll give it another 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, other questions that I can help with, post them up. I've got a poll here. Who is training today? Ali says, can you make a running stretching video? It's amazing you have asked that. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the whiteboard there? Basically, that whiteboard is awesome, Emma. Thanks, that's great. I'm glad that helps. That whiteboard is basically the tasks that I have to do. Yeah, you can see it. And on the filming side, I've had running warm up and cool down video there for about 3 months, I reckon. And it's been on my other to-do list for about 18 months. It is definitely there. I ticked off this week the last task, which was the Gifts for a Runners video. It's out of interest, who's seen that video, or who's seen me talk about it at least? It's very, very difficult to know how many people see posts. For example, I have, say, 600 people or 550 people on Facebook on the business page, but only 46 people had actually seen the post that this live was happening today. So who has seen the YouTube video for Christmas gifts or gifts for runners? Who has seen that advertised? I popped it out on Friday, so 2 days ago. I think it's possibly the second best YouTube video I've ever done. I was pretty happy with that. I'll be interested to know. We have a few, 2 votes. That's it. Only 2 of you have voted. One person says, yes, I am training. One person says, no, I am not training today. But basically, Ali, I will be doing a stretching video. I'll hopefully get that done in December. We have some other things actually I might as well go through whilst we're here. So I'm going to be doing a video on running posture, so technique work, a video on what is static stretching, a video on how many reps and how many sets you should be performing, a video on the different types of running intensities, and then the last one on that list is running warm-ups and cool-downs. But the big thing for me at the moment is making sure I get as many people working on their resistance side of their training as well as their running performance. This is the thing which has such a great effect on people being able to run, not necessarily injury-free, but minimizing injury and hit their potential. So when parkrun reopens, when the races start again, I want as many people as possible to basically be doing like the preparation work, the strength training work that allows them to succeed when those races open. So a lot of you obviously watching this are already doing the strength training program, the 8-week program. I'm hoping that was a big push for me. That was a big project for me. Andy knows that. I'm hoping that really does filter through to many, many people to take advantage of it. Emma says, I think I've seen the post, but not a video. Yeah, that's cool, Emma. Andy says, I've seen the advert, I haven't watched it yet. That's cool. Didn't get the poll. Interesting. Very interesting. It is one of those things. It's really difficult because obviously in my head, I'm like, I don't want to bombard you with loads of things. And then all of the experts I hear is like, no one gets to see your posts. Your posts don't get shown anyone. So you basically just have to repeat, keep showing the same posts, reposting it, reposting it to allow people to see it. Stuff like the Black Friday stuff. Gonna do some mini Black Friday offers for only people on the mailing list. So if you're not on the mailing list, you need to get on the mailing list. If you're on Instagram, you can just click the bio link and join newsletter. Ah, interesting. Emma didn't get the poll either. Very interesting, guys. There should be a link somewhere here. There should be a feature link that you guys should see on screen as well, which basically allows you to join the mailing list. It should be on this video somewhere. This is like an exploratory session for me. No poll for Lee. So interesting. Next week, it's technically the last Q&A. I have absolutely loved doing these again, so I might carry on anyway. But next week, I'm going to try something very different with the Q&A, and it's going to run directly through Facebook rather than using any extra software, any fancy stuff, and just see if Facebook allows us to do more. But there should be a link here on how to join the mailing list and receive those offers and all those kind of things. But as a little kind of sneak peek, because you're joining us on the live, basically it's going to be, or one of the three things, there's three things available. One of the three things is about the Garmin watch. So if you have a Garmin watch, definitely interested. Ah, cool, Ali. The little purple box at the bottom is the poll. That's really cool, interesting to know. Because obviously I can't watch these things live when I run them. Right, any other questions, guys? I've basically just chatted for the last 5 minutes, just personally. But any other questions? Fitness, nutrition. There's a question here. Curious to know the thoughts of runners on egg and spoon race. Bit of fun or good competition? Bit of fun, but it's nice to have that competition. Definitely. Any other questions from anyone on Facebook here? I will be going in 60 seconds time. Kate has made some cakes. I think I'm gonna tuck into one of those. Sunday morning baking, but she did it yesterday actually. All right, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I know there is a little delay here, so I'll keep the feed going just before I disappear. But thank you very much for joining us. Have a fantastic Sunday. It is lovely and sunny out there. Try and get a little bit of training in if you can. Thanks, Emma. Right, guys, that is it from me. That is Lockdown Q&A week 3. Take care. Next week is technically the last week, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye. Bye, Instagram.